Hello everyone, this is Neha Sharma. Today in this video we are going to start our Vistas book for class 12th. This is going to be the first chapter of this book Vistas, and the name of the chapter is The Third Level, which is written by Jack Finney. So dear students, as you know, the past is a good place to visit, but certainly not a good place to stay. The Third Level by Jack Finney is an engrossing story set in the 1950s. The story is studded with numerous undertones of irony. It takes you back in time. It was a world when people hadn't seen two of the bloodiest wars in the history of mankind. The story brings to light the fact that figments of someone's imagination can be used for shying away from reality, which in all fairness is harsh enough. This is an interesting story that is set after the world wars. Consequently, the life was full of fear, insecurity and war. The story talks about, as I told you, the figments of imagination that can be used to escape from reality. In this chapter, Charlie, the protagonist, found himself on the third level at the Grand Central Station, but the authorities as well as others swore that there were only two levels at the Grand Central Station. This narrative oscillates twice between the past and the present. Therefore, the prime theme of the story is time travel. However, escapism is another significant theme of the story, as the protagonist, Charlie, wishes to escape into a world along with his wife that is away from his grim realities and a happier place to dwell in. That is in the year 1894, much before the First and the Second World War. This is a reflection of the fact that life in the earlier times was much happier, and the people in that time were not anxious or fearful unlike his present times. Charlie not only transcends the boundaries of the time and space but also of reality and imagination. So let's take a closer look at the story through this animated summary of the third level. The third level written by Jack Finney. Charlie, 31 years old, claims that there exists a third level in the Grand Central Station, even though presidents of major railroads in New York deny its existence. When he consulted a psychiatrist, the psychiatrist, to the annoyance of Charlie's wife, concluded that Charlie was unhappy. The psychiatrist, whose name was Sam, believed that for Charlie, the third level was a medium of escape from the world. Charlie's friend concurred with the doctor, using his hobby of stamp collecting as proof. Charlie, however, disagreed. He states that his current stamp book is an inheritance from his grandfather, who, living in peaceful time, didn't require any escape from reality. He then narrates his experience at the Grand Central Station. One summer evening, while traveling home, he got lost in Grand Central Station. He walked down 2 levels just like everyone else. Then he found himself in a corridor which seemed different to the others. Quite unexpectedly, he came upon the third level. This level was lit by flickering gas lights and had brass bowls on the floor. He also saw people dressed in 1890 clothing. He also spotted a Currier and Ives locomotive. To make sure he was in right century, he looked for copies of the newspaper The World. The paper was dated June 1894. It confirmed that he had travelled back in time. The author was excited. 1894 was peaceful time before the two world wars. The author longed to live in a simple times untouched by the ravages of war. So he immediately decided to buy 2 tickets for himself and his wife, Louisa. He wanted to travel to Galesburg, Illinois. However, at the counter, the clerk refused to accept his modern currency and threatened to call the police and said, "That ain't money, mister." Charlie, to avoid being imprisoned, ran away and soon found the way back to present. The next day, Charlie withdrew nearly all the savings and purchased old style currency. But he never found the way to the third level again. His wife, worried about him, asked him not to seek the third level. This was before they learned about Sam's disappearance. Soon after, Charlie made a surprising discovery. On one night, while looking at his stamp collection, he found a stamp cover dated from 1894. Usually, when a new stamp is issued, stamp collectors mail the stamp to themselves to mark the date of issue. Someone had mailed the stamp from 1894 to his grandfather. Charlie, on opening the envelope, was surprised to discover a letter from Sam. So, dear kids, by the end of the story, we will learn that even the characters within the story reflect upon Charlie, the protagonist's time traveling experience as a type of manifestation, that means an event that occurred due to suppressed feeling and wishful thinking. Despite such practical theories and real advice coming from responsible people in his life, Charlie goes on to discover that it was indeed possible to travel back in time and visit his old home just as his heart wanted through the proof of a letter. The plot develops with the many arguments against the possibility and logic of what he had experienced, but in the end, the author retains a little magic in his story to give the message to his readers that a bit of fanciful inspiration is required in times of distress to make oneself feel safe and happy in restricting and alien environment. So, dear kids, we will enjoy reading of this story, The Third Level, through the next video. Thank you very much for today. Be safe, be healthy.